Okay, Ezekiel chapter 48. This is another chapter about the revelation of the great temple in the last days that'll be in Old Jerusalem. We're going to talk a bit more about the land divided up in here as well. Now, this is one chapter where Joseph Smith and Joseph Smith translations did make some changes. We'll talk about some of those changes here as well. In fact, let's see, the contribution of the JST to understanding Old Testament prophets by Monte Nyman had this to say about this chapter. He did a bunch of research into Old Testament and JST translations and put these together. So he said, chapter 48 describes the gates of the city seen in vision by Ezekiel. In the King James verse 35 gives the name of the city, saying, "In the name of the city from that day shall be the Lord is there." The JST says, "And the name of the city from that day shall be called holy, for the Lord shall be there." The sentence in King James makes little sense, but the JST makes it consistent with Isaiah 60 and Revelations 21. So Joseph Smith, in his updating, when he went through the Bible to do his translation work, he has made this chapter align better with Isaiah and with Revelation. So Isaiah 60 and Revelations 21. So he changes this from the Lord is there, like he's presently there, to the Lord will be there, basically in the future. So let's get started now. Verse 1, "Now these are the names of the tribes from the north and to the coast, the way of Hethlon, goeth Hamath, and the border of Damascus." So this is getting into Dan, Asher, Naphtali, Manasseh, Ephraim, and Reuben. "And by the border of Judah, from the east side to the west, shall be the offering which ye shall offer, 25,000 reeds in breadth. The length is one of the parts, from the east and to the west side of the sanctuary. The oblation ye shall offer unto the Lord shall be 25,000 in length, of 10,000 breadth. And for them, for the priests, it shall be this holy oblation." So this is, again, dividing out the land, talking about how this is going to be put together, which side of the sanctuary you get to be on. Certain parts are going to be for the priests, certain parts are going to be for the princes, and then certain parts of people for the people and everybody else, basically. So let's jump down. Interesting, in verse 14 it says, "They shall not sell of it, neither exchange nor alienate the first fruits of the land, for it is holy unto the Lord." So you're not allowed to change the inheritance that you've been given, basically, as you go through this. Now in verse 15, we're going to talk about, "And 5,000 that are left in the breadth over against the 5 and 20 shall be a profane place for the city, for dwelling and for suburbs, and the city shall be in the midst thereof." So this is for the extra areas outside the inheritance. "And the suburbs of the city," this is verse 17, "shall be toward the north 250, and towards the south 250, and the east 250, and the west 250. The residue in length over against the oblation of the holy portion shall be 10,000 eastward, 10,000 westward, and it shall be over against the oblation of the holy portion. And the increase thereof shall be for food unto them that serve the city." So these are where you can grow crops and can do more things. "They shall serve the city, and shall serve it out of all the tribes of Israel. All the oblation shall be 5 and 20,000 by 5 and 20,000. You shall offer the holy city oblation foursquare with the possession of the city." Verse 21, "And the residue shall be for the prince on the one side, on the other, for the holy oblation, and the possession of the city as well." So they're just, again, talking about these things, which tribes are getting what. Now in verse 22, we get into the possession of the Levites, possession of the city being in the midst of it by the princes. "Between the border of Judah and the border of Benjamin shall be for the princes. As for the rest, Benjamin shall have a portion. Simeon will border Benjamin. Issachar will border Simeon. Zebulun will border on Issachar. Gad will border on Zebulun. And by the border of Gad, and the south side, the border shall be even from Tamar unto the waters of strife in Kadesh." Just, again, this is talking about the locations and where they're going to be. Verse 29, "This is the land which ye shall divide by lot unto the tribes of Israel for the inheritance." These are their portions. So I'm going to try to find like a graphic we can put up here to kind of show visually what this looks like, so I don't have to go through this a whole lot. Now we're going to get into verse 30. "And these are the goings out of the city on the north side, the 4,500 measures. And the gates of the city shall be after the names of the tribes of Israel. 3 gates northward, 1 gate of Reuben, gate of Judah, gate of Levi. And at the east side, 4,503 gates. 1 gate of Joseph, 1 gate of Benjamin, 1 gate of Dan. And at the south side, 4,500 measures, 3 gates, 1 gate of Simeon, gate of Issachar, gate of Zebulun. And the west side, 4,500 with their 3 gates, Gad, of Asher and Naphtali. And it was round about 18,000 measures, and the name of the city from that day shall be, the Lord is there. So again, it's talking about the Lord is there like present day. And so that was changed. The JST says, and the name of the city from that day shall be called Holy, for the Lord shall be there. So the name of the city is Holy, not the Lord is there. It'll be called Holy because of Christ being there, basically. So that's the gates that we get to see around about. They get all the lands, they're divided up amongst themselves, everything ready to go. Now that revelation takes us right to the end of the book of Ezekiel. So this is the last chapter. Thank you for watching Ezekiel. I hope you've really enjoyed these videos about Ezekiel and the great revelations that he received. We are now going to jump into another prophet who was in part of that first exile out of Jerusalem, not the crazy one in the second exile that got really obliterated and destroyed, but the first one that took some of the more cream of the crop of Israel in that first exile, which was a little closer to 597 BC rather than 587 BC when it was destroyed by Babylon. So that means we are in the book of Daniel next. So we'll see you over there.